Luna got off the school bus with her headphones on, but no music playing. It was just to avoid conversation. She held tightly to the strap of her backpack, as if it helped her breathe. Vale du Sol School looked more like a shopping mall than a school. Glass facade, stylish students, groups forming in the courtyard, as if they already knew exactly where they belonged. And she, once again, she didn't belong anywhere. This was her 4th school in 2 years. Constant changes, new beginnings, always trying to escape something or someone. But this was different. Now she wasn't just running away. She had a plan. She walked through the gate with short steps, her gaze lowered. She could feel some people's eyes turning in her direction. The "who's the new girl" conversation had already begun before the first bell rang. The reception was cold. Every school had its codes, its leaders, its bullies, and she had learned to identify them all in less than 5 minutes. As she walked down the main hallway, someone deliberately bumped into her shoulder. The backpack shook, and the notebooks fell to the floor, sliding near the feet of a noisy group. "Careful there, princess," said a deep, mocking voice. Luna froze, not from pain, but from familiarity. She knew that kind of voice. She looked up slowly. Caio Ventura, tall, blonde, with an easy smile, and one of those looks that knew the power he wielded. He was surrounded by 3 other boys, all with sports jackets and cell phones in hand, ready to laugh at anything he said. Caio was clearly the kind of boy who ruled the roost, the untouchable. "You're new here, right?" he asked, his tone somewhere between charming and mocking. Luna didn't answer. She bent down, picked up the notebooks one by one, and stood up without even looking at him. She walked right past. "Hey, where's the manners?" he said, a little louder, making her friends laugh. She kept walking, her heart racing, but her face set. She'd experienced this before. The best way to deal with bullies like Caio was to not give them a platform. They thrived on reactions. But Caio didn't like being ignored. As she passed him, she felt her backpack being pulled back slightly. She stopped, took a deep breath. She turned slowly and looked Caio in the eye for the first time. There was no fear there, no anger, just a silent warning. And then, something changed in his gaze. For a brief moment, he hesitated. "You shouldn't have done that," Luna said calmly. Caio laughed. He didn't understand, but he would. Soon that morning, Luna followed her schedule like a pro. Find the locker, memorize the combination, find the way to the classrooms, locate the most empty bathrooms, and, of course, observe who sat where during break. It wasn't paranoia. It was survival. Classes passed slowly. Teachers tried to be friendly. Students glanced sideways. She remained silent. She answered when called upon, but never more than necessary. With every passing minute, she sensed the atmosphere. Caio Ventura reigned supreme, not only because of his popularity, but because people avoided contradicting him. And Luna understood. Why? At lunchtime, she walked into the cafeteria like someone entering a battlefield. Trays of food, loud laughter, cell phones everywhere. The center table was his. Caio, surrounded by athletes, girls in impeccable clothes, exaggerated laughter, all focused on him. It was as if the entire room revolved around his table. Luna picked up her tray and walked away to an empty table in the corner, but of course, it wouldn't be that easy. "Hey, newbie," the voice echoed above the hubbub. She glanced over. Caio was standing, an apple in his hand and a smile that showed he knew exactly what he was doing. "Are you going to eat alone?" How rude. I thought we were off to a good start this morning. A few heads turned. One girl covered her mouth to stifle a laugh. Luna felt her cheeks heat up, but her face remained impassive. She turned slowly, unhurriedly, and stared at Caio from a distance. "It's just that I prefer to eat with polite people," she said calmly, before sitting down. An uncomfortable silence fell for a few seconds. Then came the oohs from the surrounding tables. Someone even choked on their soda. Caio laughed, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. He wasn't used to hearing no, much less in public. Luna began to eat calmly. She didn't look at him anymore. She didn't need to. After break, eyes followed her through the hallways. It was as if everyone wanted to know who the girl was who not only ignored Caio Ventura ... but talked back. And Juan Caio, on the other hand, walked with a slight grit in his teeth. He smiled the rest of the day, as if he didn't care. But everyone, they knew, he never let it go. And Luna knew it too. As she left school, she was walking with the sun beating down on her face when she heard footsteps behind her. "Hey, new girl." It was him again. She stopped, took a breath, and turned slowly. Caius approached with his usual smile. But now, it was different, more tense, more forced. "You're funny, you know that." Luna crossed her arms. "And you're predictable." He laughed, but he was irritated. That was clear now. And that's when he asked, his gaze more serious, "Do you think you're better than me?" Luna smirked. It was the first time she'd smiled all day. "No, I'm just not easily impressed by people who need an audience to feel strong." Caio was silent. No answer, no control. For the first time, and Luna, she turned around and walked to the car waiting for her across the street, a black SUV that looked too expensive for any average teenager. Caio watched, confused, as the door opened automatically. Luna got in without another word. The car drove off in silence. But in Caio's mind, something was already crumbling, and he didn't even know it yet. That this was only the first. Round the next morning, Luna arrived early. The sky was still orange, and the school almost empty. But she wanted to be there before everyone else. Not to hide but to observe. She sat on a bench near the courtyard, a book on her lap, pretending to read. Every student she passed gave her a surreptitious glance, most whispered, and it wasn't hard to understand why. The video of the new girl's response was already circulating in all the school's messaging groups. Someone had recorded the exchange between her and Caio in the cafeteria. They'd cropped it, subtitled it, and added background music. Her saying, "I prefer to eat with polite people," was practically a meme. Caio didn't show up for his first class, nor for his second. For the third, he arrived late, quieter than usual, his eyes scanning the room as if searching for someone. When he passed in the hallway and saw Luna sitting, reading silently, he stopped for a second. She didn't look up, but she noticed. She felt the weight of his gaze. She felt the discomfort. He continued, but he was far from giving up. During break, Luna approached the cafeteria to buy a juice. That's when something flew over her shoulder and landed right in front of her feet. A crushed, open, dirty sandwich. And laughter followed. "Oops, my sandwich fell," said a familiar voice, false innocence in its tone. It was Lucas, one of Caio's henchmen, one of those boys who never took action alone, but loved to participate in other people's cowardice. Luna took a deep breath, looked at the sandwich on the floor, then looked directly at Lucas. What a coincidence. His brain seems to have slipped too, she said with a half smile. Once again, silence. And then, the UH of those watching from afar. But Luna wasn't expecting applause, she just wanted to send a message. She walked back, grabbed her juice, and sat at the same table as before in the corner, alone, as if nothing had happened. But now, no one was laughing at her. No one was mocking, they were just ... watching. The aura around Caio was beginning to crack, and Luna knew, bullies don't just fall apart, they crack inside first. They lose the laughter of their friends, then the certainty of control, and finally, the confidence that they're still in charge. And Caio was at the very beginning of this process. At the end of the day, Luna was walking toward the gate when she noticed something was wrong. People were staring at the lockers, whispering more than usual. She approached hers and stopped. Books were thrown on the floor, offensive drawings, scrawled in red marker all over the door, and a large word in the middle, poser. The crowd was gathering. She took a deep breath. She picked up the books, one by one. She closed the locker slowly, and without saying a single word, she turned and left. No one was expecting that. No shouting, no crying, no fuss. She let the silence make more noise than any attack. That night, at home, she ate dinner in silence until she heard the familiar voice coming from the kitchen. "I heard someone turned into art at school today," her uncle joked, leaning against the doorframe, a glass of water in his hand. Luna laughed for the first time that day. "They're getting creative. They're just forgetting one thing." "What?" She looked up firmly. "I haven't even started yet." The next day began like all the others, or at least, it tried to. Luna arrived, with the same calm stride, backpack over her shoulder, gaze focused, but deep inside, she knew this would be a decisive day. The teasing had already crossed the line, and she was letting Caio dig his own grave, with his own hands. In the very first class, the teacher made a subtle comment. "Guys, remember that. School is a place for learning, not personal attacks." Respect begins with silence, but ends with actions. Some students exchanged glances. Caio, sitting in the back, pretended it wasn't him. But the discomfort was visible, especially when a girl in the class looked at Luna and nodded discreetly in support. Caius' empire was beginning to crack from within. During the break, tension reached a peak. Luna, she was walking with her tray toward the same table as always when Lucas, the same boy with the flying sandwich, stuck his foot in the way. She tripped. The tray fell, spilling food across the floor. Laughter erupted all around, some nervous, others malicious. Luna stood still for 2 seconds, then she crouched down, but instead of picking up the food, she took a sheet of paper from her jacket pocket. She stood up slowly, turned to Lucas, and handed him the paper. "You can read it out loud, since you love attention so much." He hesitated. "Go ahead. I insist." The boy looked at Caio, who was gesturing for him to ignore it, but it was too late. Everyone was already looking. There was no way back. Lucas read aloud, "I declare that I take responsibility for the damage to Luna Cavolhu's locker, which occurred yesterday at 4:32 p.m. near Wingby, using a red permanent marker, violating the Student Code of Conduct. Item 12, Article 4. The cafeteria fell silent. Luna added, looking at everyone, "It was written by him. I found it on the floor, with the signature and everything. But don't worry, I haven't given it to the principal yet." Lucas paled. Caio snorted. Some started laughing. Now, both of them. Luna bent down, picked up what was left of the tray, threw it in the trash, grabbed a juice, and sat back down in her usual spot, as if nothing had happened. That was the first time Caio felt exposed, without weapons, without a response. After the last class, Luna was walking to the gate when she noticed something strange. Caio was standing near the exit, alone, without the guard dogs. She slowed down, expecting some provocation, but he didn't say anything. He just looked at her for a long time, and, for the first time, afraid. That night, at dinner, her uncle Gabriel Carvalho, former soccer player and now famous businessman, came into the kitchen with his cell phone in hand. "Guess who texted me today?" Luna took a bite of toast. "The principal." She said the school is going through a delicate period of social leadership changes among the students. Luna smiled. Translation: the king is falling. "Exactly. So," she asked, "do you think I should tighten my grip?" Gabriel leaned closer and replied softly, "I think you've already started winning. Now, you just need to let him continue destroying himself." Luna gave a slight smile and got up from the table. "Good, because tomorrow, I won't even have to open my mouth." Friday morning, the school was different. The atmosphere was quieter, less laughter, less commotion, and behind it all, a buzz was beginning to grow. Someone important had been near the school the night before. Some said they'd seen a black imported car parked for more than 20 minutes in front of the entrance. Others swore they'd seen former soccer player Gabriel Carvalho getting out of the vehicle, but no one had proof, only speculation. Luna, she'd arrived as always, her face serene, her gaze calm, even though she knew the circle was closing in, and just as she'd told her uncle the night before, she wouldn't need to open her mouth. The truth walked on its own. In history class, the teacher showed a motivational video about overcoming obstacles, an old speech by Gabriel Carvalho, charity event, addressing bullying in schools. The room fell silent, everyone watched, and then, someone whispered, "Wait, that guy, ... looks like Luna's driver." Caio shifted in his seat. He recognized it too. Only, unlike the others, he understood, too quickly. The girl he was trying to humiliate was the direct niece of one of the most respected men in town. Not just because of her fame, but because of her influence. It was as if the penny had dropped, and Caio hated feeling like he wasn't in control. During recess, he didn't even show up at the cafeteria. He stayed locked in the computer room with Lucas and 2 other friends, trying to find out if the video of the signing Luna had delivered the day before had reached the administration. Spoiler, not yet, but that didn't mean she couldn't use it whenever she wanted. Meanwhile, Luna ate lunch calmly. A group of girls from the other grade approached and asked if they could sit with her. She smiled and nodded. They sat down, and that, in itself, was a social earthquake at the school. The new girl, who, until yesterday had been ignored, was now respected, and he was shrinking. Late that afternoon, Gabriel was waiting for her in the same black SUV, but this time, something was different. As soon as she got in, he showed her his cell phone. "Look at this," he said, showing a screenshot of a post from the school's official profile. "Today we watched a powerful excerpt from a speech about respect and empathy by our former student and current educational ambassador, Gabriel Carvalho, an example of how kindness builds bridges." Luna smiled. She knew it wasn't a coincidence. "Did you ask for it?" "No," he replied. "But let's just say someone from the board suggested it." After hearing some gossip about a certain bully, she laughed. But then she became serious. "Uncle ... Caio won't stop here. I know. He'll try to take me down before everyone finds out who he really is." Gabriel looked at her steadily, unsmiling. "Then you need to be one step ahead. Always." Luna looked out the window. The school was shrinking in the rearview mirror. But inside her, something was growing. She was no longer just the new girl. Now ... she was the threat Caio never saw coming. Monday arrived with overcast skies and a tense atmosphere. Not just because of the clouds, but because of something invisible, almost palpable, hovering. In the hallways, Luna felt it as soon as she crossed the school gates. The stares were different, more intense, more attentive. On Friday, she had left to flee in the back of many people's minds. On Saturday, a rumor surfaced. Someone was collecting screenshots of Caio's private conversations. And on Monday morning, that rumor came to life. When Luna arrived at school, she saw a group of students gathered around one of the notice posts. In the central hallway, a new poster caught attention, but it wasn't in color. It was black and white, simple. It just had a QR code and a phrase underneath. "Click and see who you're really applauding." She didn't need to ask. She knew what it was. On her phone, the link led directly to a video with screenshots arranged like slides. Screenshots of messages, audio, and conversations between Caio and his friends, mocking classmates, teachers, and even people with disabilities. Some screenshots were old, but many ... were recent. Very recent. You could say the school had stopped. Literally. The video was shared in all groups. Within minutes, it had over 400 views. Some students were shocked. Others were angry. Some even felt betrayed. Luna stayed away. She watched everything from a distance, leaning against one of the pillars in the courtyard. No phone in hand, not smiling, just watching. She didn't need to say anything. The truth spoke for itself. By the time Caio showed up, it was too late. He came with his usual long strides, feigning confidence, but his eyes revealed something else. As soon as he noticed the abnormal silence around him, he knew something was wrong. All he had to do was see the students subtly moving away as he approached. The discreet whispers, their cell phones hidden. He stopped in front of the poster. He scanned the QR code. He watched for 2 minutes. His expression changed 3 times. First confusion, then denial, and finally, terror. He tore the poster angrily and shouted, "This is a setup. This is fake." But no one responded. The silence was the hardest blow he'd ever received. His friends, who always laughed at everything, now avoided even eye contact. One of them turned away. Another blurted out, "Dude, that really went down badly." Caio was alone. At the end of the day, Luna passed him in the hallway. He was leaning against the wall, alone, staring into space. When he saw her, he straightened, as if still trying to maintain his pose. She stopped a meter away. "You like attention, don't you?" Caio gritted his teeth. "You did." Luna smiled slightly. "No, you did. I just pressed play." And he walked away, leaving behind the sound of his own pride shattering. That night, at home, Gabriel was waiting for her with pizza on the table. "How was your day?" "Noisy, but quiet," she replied. He raised an eyebrow. "Is that good?" "It's perfect." Because Luna knew there was no weapon more powerful than the truth, when shown at the right moment. And Caio had just learned that the hard way. On Tuesday, Caio didn't show up for his first period, or his second. In the third, he entered the classroom late, head down, backpack dragging. The entire class fell silent. For the first time, it wasn't respect, it was tension. It was judgment. Luna was sitting in the second row. She didn't even turn round. She didn't need to. The entire atmosphere already felt like the school had changed. He hadn't. At break, Luna noticed something different. Caio wasn't in the cafeteria. None of his old friends were either. Those who had previously shouted jokes and jeers now walked in silence, their eyes lost. The truth is, they were trying to distance themselves from the chaos, and the king who had fallen from his throne But Caius was not one to accept defeat easily. At the end of the day, Luna was approaching the gates when she heard his voice behind her. Wait, she stopped. She turned slowly. Caius was there, without the arrogant smile, without an audience, just him and her. Why did you do that? He asked, his tone almost human. Luna stared at him. For a moment, she didn't answer. She just watched him. He seemed smaller, not physically, but in what truly mattered. I didn't do it, she replied calmly. You did. The difference is that now everyone saw it. Did you want to destroy me? She took a step forward, her eyes steady. No, I wanted you to stop. Stop what? She took a deep breath, from hiding behind cruel jokes, from thinking you can belittle others to feel great, from acting as if no one confronted you, because no one did, until I arrived. Caio was silent. For a few seconds, he seemed at a loss for words. He began. I just didn't want to be forgotten. Luna's eyes widened in surprise. She hadn't expected that. So you chose to be feared. He shrugged, embarrassed. Fear is quicker than respect. Luna crossed her arms. And now, what's left? He lowered his head, didn't answer. She took a step closer. You wanted to be remembered. You will be, but not in the way you thought. He looked at her, for the first time, without anger. Just weariness, frustration, maybe shame. And are you going to keep chasing me? Luna shook her head. I don't need to. You're facing yourself alone now. And believe me, that's worse than anything I could do. She turned to leave, but stopped mid-step. Caio, what? There's still time to change, but it's not with pretty words. It's with action. It starts when you look in the mirror and, for the first time, stop trying to look like someone you're not. He didn't answer. He just stood there, watching her walk away, step by step, without looking back. That night, Luna didn't say anything. To Gabriel, she ate dinner in silence, then went upstairs to her room, opened her laptop, and started writing in her digital diary. Today, for the first time, the lion wasn't roaring. And the strangest thing is that he didn't even seem that scary. Wednesday dawned with a clear sky, but the school was overcast. Not because of the weather, but because of Caio's reputation, which was now shattering before everyone's eyes. In the very first class, the principal asked to speak with him and obtain official summons. Discreet but firm. He left the classroom amid silent stares. No friends accompanied him, not even a pat on the shoulder. Only the sound of his own footsteps echoing in the hallway. Luna watched everything, but, as always, she didn't celebrate. It wasn't about revenge, it was about justice. And justice, sometimes, is silent. At break time, a new poster was posted on the cafeteria wall. Signed by the board, Vale du Sol School repudiates discriminatory, offensive, and bullying inciting behavior. We are all responsible for maintaining a safe and respectful environment. It was the final straw. The groups began to distance themselves from CAO completely. Even Lucas, the most loyal, now sat with another group of students, trying to rebuild his image. Caio, he ate lunch alone. At the back table, head down, no cell phone, no smiles, no harsh comments. Luna walked past him without saying anything, but he looked up. Why haven't you completely destroyed me yet? She asked quietly. She paused for a moment. She looked into his eyes. Now there was no more hatred, only confusion. Because I don't need to, she replied. You're doing this yourself. He swallowed hard. I didn't think it would end like this. No one does, Caio, but everything has consequences. And one day ... they come. And then she walked away. In the last class, the teacher assigned a pair project. Luna's name was drawn with Caio. The room fell silent. Everyone held their breath. But the teacher simply said, sometimes, it's by working with the people we avoid the most that we learn. The most. She sat down beside him without drama. She simply opened her notebook and said, let's focus on the research. Caio nodded. He didn't complain. He didn't try to make conversation. He just collaborated. And that's when Luna realized he was broken. And maybe, just maybe, starting to understand what it meant to truly be. At the end of the day, Gabriel was waiting for her in the car, as always. But this time, she got in with a different expression. So, he asked, today, I saw the end of an era, she replied, buckling up. Gabriel glanced at her sideways. You seem lighter. She sighed, because now, school no longer revolves around a boy who made others feel small, and you. Luna smiled, looking out the window. I didn't grow up, I just stopped hiding. They walked down the road as the orange afternoon sky colored the way back. Luna knew Caio Ventura fell, not because someone knocked him down, but because the world finally saw the fragile pedestal he placed himself on, and that ... can't be rebuilt. With apologies. The next morning, Luna arrived at school with the same calm stride as always, but this time, something had changed. Not in her, but in the way others looked at her. Before, the looks had been filled with suspicion, giggles, or silent judgment. Now, they were filled with respect, with admiration, and, in some cases, with gratitude. A short, shy first-year student approached during recess. Shaking a little, she held a piece of paper in her hands. Luna, ... can I sit with you? Luna smiled. Of course, sit down. The girl sat down and handed over the paper. It was a handwritten note. Thank you for showing us that we don't need to be afraid. I suffered with him too. Now I feel stronger. Luna, she read it silently. She tucked the paper into her backpack as if it were a trophy. That was it. The real impact. Not the videos, not the whispers, but the courage that arose in others, simply because she didn't keep quiet. Later, the principal called her in for a chat, but, contrary to what Caio would have imagined weeks ago, it wasn't to punish her. Luna, I'm inviting you to join the student council. We need voices like yours. Firm but fair. Luna smiled, taking her time to respond. I appreciate it, but I think I can help better where I am. With my eyes open and my ears attentive. The principal nodded, understanding. Luna didn't want a stage. She wanted awareness, and she had already won where it really mattered. In the hallways, Caio still appeared, alone, head down. He no longer made jokes, drew attention, or flashed cynical smiles. He walked past people, as if trying to erase himself from his past. Luna didn't avoid him, but she didn't confront him either. She had fulfilled her role. The rest was up to him. Late that afternoon, sitting on the bench in the courtyard, she witnessed a scene that resonated with her more than any victory. Caio helping the school janitor lift a box of books. No audience, no cell phone, no one around. Maybe something was truly beginning to change. That night, at dinner, Gabriel was making pasta while she organized her books in her backpack. So quiet today, he commented. Just thinking. About what? That may be finally understanding. Gabriel glanced over his shoulder. Who? Caio, her uncle smirked. Do you still believe he'll change? Luna took a deep breath. I don't believe in him, but I believe in the power of falling. Sometimes, it's only by falling badly that we learn to get up properly. And you? He asked. Are you going to stay quiet? Luna smiled lightly. No, I'll just let the silence teach me what words couldn't. Gabriel served 2 plates and sat at the table. And now, Luna shrugged, picking up her fork. Now, ... I finally live high school in peace. Friday arrived like a sigh of relief. After intense weeks, the school seemed to breathe differently. Lighter, more human. Luna walked the hallways, feeling the sounds around her less noisy, less heavy. It was as if the school, once ruled by fear and appearance, had now found a new rhythm, a truer one. In the last class, the literature teacher proposed a special activity. I want you to write, anonymously, a letter to someone at school. It could be a thank you, an apology, or even a reflection you've never had the courage to share. The class shifted uncomfortably. Some laughed, others wrinkled their noses, but Luna just smiled. It was symbolic. It was the perfect ending. At the end of the class, everyone placed their letters in a wooden box. The teacher promised to read some of them, without revealing the authors. On Monday, she read aloud one of the selected letters. I used to believe that power meant making others fear me, that respect was the same as silence. But someone showed me that true strength lies in standing your ground without stepping on anyone. She didn't scream, she didn't retaliate violently, she didn't fall into the trap of anger. And yet, she prevailed. Thank you for not destroying me when you had the chance, because only then did I see myself. The room fell silent. Luna felt her stomach turn, but not because of the exposure. No one knew who the letter was from, but she knew. And for a brief moment, she looked at Caio, who kept his eyes fixed. On the table, his fingers intertwined. A new beginning was beginning there, not just for him, but for everyone. As she was leaving, Luna saw a first-year student being surrounded by 2 older girls. Tension hung in the air. But before she could intervene, a group of students approached and broke the mood. No confrontation needed, just presence, the echo of change. Later, sitting on the bench near the library, Luna was writing in her digital journal when she felt a shadow approaching. It was Caio, alone, without arrogance, without a mask. "May I?" She nodded. He sat beside her, but kept a respectful distance. "Was the letter from you?" she asked. He hesitated, then nodded. "I didn't know what to write until I thought about everything I hadn't said before." Luna closed the journal. "You don't need to apologize. This is up to you." "I know," he said. "But I needed you to know that, ... I'm trying." She glanced at him sideways. She saw sincerity. "Trying is a start, but it's not about pleasing me. It's about not repeating yourself." He nodded in understanding. Then he stood. "Thank you for not being like me." Luna stood there for a moment, looking up at the sky that was beginning to turn orange. Then she stood and walked to the school gates where the black SUV was waiting for her as always. Gabriel opened the door and smiled. "Ready?" He smiled back. "Now." "Yes." As the car drove down the road, Luna felt a real relief in her chest. She hadn't just survived school, she'd transformed the place, without violence, without shouting, without demeaning herself, only with truth, patience, ... and courage. And in a world where so many use power to silence, Luna proved that the loudest voice is the one that speaks last, without having to raise her